Godox AD300Pro II comes with a carrying case. I received this for free to review several weeks back. This piece that attaches the light to the stand, the bottom screw here, I hadn't yet realized it, but you'll want to move that to the other side. Just makes your life a lot easier. The battery. And you probably don't need to slam the battery that hard. That's the process of turning it on. Here's my wireless trigger. It's a Godox X3 Pro. The AD300Pro II does not come with a wireless trigger. You'll need to buy a Godox trigger or use an old Godox trigger or flash. Any Godox trigger or flash can probably not only trigger this light, but change settings remotely. I was trying something weird here with Cassidy, trying to be creative. So although this is the first thing I shot, I'm going to show some other shoots first, and we will circle back around to it. Here's a brief look at the menu. I'll go more in depth in a moment, but first let's deal with the most important thing to know. How do you set your light and your wireless trigger, whatever you're using as a wireless trigger, to talk to each other? You need to set them both to the same channel. You need to assign your light to a group and make sure the trigger is set to fire that same group. Triggers can potentially fire multiple groups at once. Just make sure one of those groups on your trigger matches whatever group you set back here. I just use A. ID I leave off, whatever you set it to though. Again, just make sure it matches your wireless trigger. I've never tried it because setting this stuff manually is very easy, but wireless sync will supposedly instantly pair with newer Godox triggers, eliminating the need to set any of this stuff manually. But again, I'd rather just set it myself, personally. To my way of thinking, when a problem arises, how are you possibly ever going to be able to fix it if you don't even know the absolute basics? Just learn how to set it manually. It's for the best. I also got 2 of these Zeniko OT80Rs for free. They're inflatable RGB LED lights. You can see them set up in the background there. And this third one in my hand, extremely similar, but it's the OT80 Bi. It just does white light, but a bunch of different shades of white. I brought one with me to an in-home newborn photo shoot. I did not end up using it though. I used the AD300Pro II instead. So I'm replacing my old LED panels because these just make way more sense in my small space. Plus they're ultra portable, they'll run off of a power bank. And so all the behind the scenes stuff in my office showing the AD300Pro II, I'm lighting all of this with those Zeniko inflatable panels. It's a cool carrying case, but I prefer to just carry the light in my bag at this point. The size of the thing, that's what I appreciate most. The performance you're getting out of something the size of a telephoto lens. So yes, I'm a big fan of this light. I like it quite a bit. I thought it would be interesting to take a shot without the light, with, without, with. It might look like I darkened the shot that I did without the light, but I didn't darken anything. It's the identical exposure with identical post-processing settings. Now, granted, if I were shooting this without the light, I wouldn't have shot it super dark, and I wouldn't have post-processed it super dark. But that isn't the point. I'm just illustrating the heavy lifting that the light is doing for me. Even though there's sun, I'm shooting in the shade on purpose so that I have control over the light. On the back of the AD300Pro II, the top left button is the mode button. Manual, you set the intensity of the flash manually. Multi is for multiple flashes within a single frame or a given amount of time. TTL, think of it as automatic. Your camera takes a reading, decides how much light is needed from the strobe, sets a value, then conveys that information back to the strobe via the wireless trigger. The middle button on the left is the menu button, which opens the menu, as you might suspect. Clever you. I'll go through the menu in excruciating detail soon enough, and link to the AD300Pro II in the description, by the way. On the bottom left, there's an up-down set wheel. Scroll through options up and down, press the wheel in like a button to set or select something. The inflatable tube lights are also going to be linked in the description. The top right button is the modeling lamp. Hold it down to turn the modeling light on or off, or press it once to adjust the properties of the modeling light. I shot one without the light here as well, and it's actually kind of interesting. If I'd chosen a brighter exposure, I think it might have worked, but cranking it up in post just a little bit, yeah, I like it. Rather interesting. In the middle on the right, there's a power button. If you hold it down, and if you press it once, it test fires the flash. And maybe not every single shot we're getting here is a winner, but overall I am really liking the vibe of these photos with Cassidy. And the switch on the bottom right is to release the battery. I will also leave a link to Cassidy's Instagram after the links to the various products I'm reviewing here. So I really like the light, and I'm an available light shooter. I do not normally seek to replace the sun with artificial light. Since I'm reviewing it, I probably am looking for opportunities to use it more than I typically would. But often conditions are not ideal. Frequently, I need a little bit of a lighting assist. I've been bringing lights to shoots for ages, hoping not to have to use them. But within the last year and a half, I've just made it official policy. I always bring a light with me. Here I'm changing settings to the modeling lamp. A modeling light, by the way, is a constant light that you can use for visual reference, so that when the strobe fires, you already know what it's going to look like. Just to give you an idea of the refresh times at full power, when the orange light on the back comes on, it's ready to fire again. Pretty good. At first, it was a huge strobe that I would carry around with me. Then for a while, it was a speed light. Going forward, it's this. I'm very, very happy with my setup now. This is half power. Lighting gear has just gotten so portable, so effortless, easy, simple, manageable. And this is 1/4 power. My first ever off-camera lighting setup that I could take with me for an outdoor shoot was a giant AC-powered studio strobe and a giant 20-pound battery to plug it into. But a portable strobe, I mean, that was such a big deal at the time. So cool. 1/8 power here. At 1/8 power, there's pretty much no refresh time. You can fire off shots like a machine gun, essentially. So I just finished this shoot with Cassidy with a couple of available light shots. No need to just dogmatically use the light for everything. Although this one could have used the help. It's a little dull, lighting-wise. That one, though, I really like. Cassidy is just really, really good in front of the camera. This V480 speedlight has served as my portable lighting solution for the past year or so, but my favorite aspect of Godox gear is I wouldn't even need to buy a new wireless trigger because I can just use any old Godox trigger or flash that I happen to have. That has been my experience, at least. I'm sure there are exceptions, but the way everything links up super easy is a huge advantage of Godox lighting gear. That was my AD300Pro flash I was just demonstrating. I'm shooting Serina, and like, hey, we've got sunlight, right? No need to bring any extra lighting gear today. Right? This is an older Godox trigger. I mean, it's not ancient, but it almost seems ancient compared to what Godox is doing today with their screens and their interfaces. But it's still a fully capable trigger. Maybe not as flashy, certainly not as intuitive as their current stuff, like this X3 Pro that I use. The X3 Pro is honestly badass. So is that AD300Pro flash that I was showing earlier. You can disable the onboard flash and it becomes just a really great trigger. Or, go to Photocell and set it to S1 to trigger the light optically via any flash of any brand, like this old Canon flash. S1 fires upon the first flash, it sees S2 ignores any TTL pre-flash, and fires on the second. That is important to be aware of if the flash connected to your camera is set to TTL. Even though it's my policy, I almost talked myself out of bringing the AD300Pro II to this shoot. It was planned as a sunlit shoot, desert sunlight. And yet, after about 10 to 15 minutes, we lost the sun completely. Thankfully, there had been no breach of policy. And then I screwed up. I wanted to demonstrate how to take this thing apart. Thought that might be helpful for someone. I've done this before. Should be fine. And then I broke the flash bulb, taking the glass cover off. Evidently, I pulled it off at an angle instead of straight up, and I whacked it into the tube with a lot of force. It will only fire now when it's pointed straight up. The tube itself is actually not broken. What's broken are the terminals on both sides. And so if you need a replacement flash tube, this is the one the AD300Pro II takes. It's the same tube as the original AD300 Pro. Plugs right into these 3 holes at the bottom. The replacement bulb came with this card. These instructions, though, are for the original AD300 Pro and do not apply to the 2. You can safely disregard the card, says Bernard in the schoolyard at Swiss Chard Boulevard. So just be really careful not to slip and whack the flash bulb. Line it up with the 3 metal pins with great care. Press into one of the pins with your thumb before you attempt to press the glass down. I confirmed with the company. Indeed, that instruction card is for the original AD300 Pro. You can safely disregard it with the AD300 Pro II. The menu. We already looked at wireless. That's where you set channel and group and ID to connect your trigger to the strobe. Next is flash mode. Freeze mode prioritizes short flash durations for stopping motion. Color mode prioritizes color consistency. Normal splits the difference. Photo cell, we already looked at that. That's to set the flash as an optical slave so that it will fire anytime it sees a flash. I shot a couple of intentionally dark ones out here too. This time I'm just loading up the raw with no adjustments. I'm curious how far we have to crank this to get close to a usable exposure. Turns out about 4 stops. Of course we lose the sky, but we would similarly lose the sky had we just exposed it that way in camera. I've got to say though, these raw files have impressive flexibility. That's 0 noise reduction. HSS is for when you want to push your shutter past its native max sync speed, usually 1/200th or 1/250th of a second. Me personally, I'm more likely to use an ND filter than to crank up the shutter. But that's fine because I'm not trying to stop fast motion. Under model, you're controlling whether or not the modeling light temporarily goes dark when the flash bulb is firing. Choose CONT to keep the modeling light constant when the flash is firing, though unless you're going for something very specific, I don't think that's a very good idea, personally, to have 2 different kinds of light coming from the same angle. Just my opinion. Beep is just, when you want to annoy the people around you more than you already are. I'm not a fan of adding more noise to this process, but if you like an electronic beep to accompany each flash, you can make that happen. We just definitely cannot be friends. Type is just asking how you'd like the power levels displayed. Photographers are probably used to working with fractions. That's certainly what I'm used to, so that's what I choose. I don't usually mix nature and artificial light like this, but tonight I had no choice. But to the benefit of this review, I think it's a good mix of conditions I've got going on here. Standby is a power-saving feature. Auto off, I suppose, is also a power-saving feature. I accidentally left the flash on all night in my bag once, so good idea to use auto off. Brightness is asking about brightness of the screen on the back. Has nothing at all to do with power level of the flash. And delay just adds a tiny delay before the flash fires. Could be used to creative effect, or it could be used to solve timing issues in complex lighting setups. Mask is kind of a tough one to explain in 2 seconds. I've never actually used it, but I've seen it demonstrated. It allows you to fire off lights or groups of lights in a sequence, useful for shooting the same scene multiple different ways in rapid succession, should you wish to composite them later for maximum control. And this does a full factory reset, so you don't even need a wireless trigger to fire this thing. If you have a standard sync cable and a camera with a PC sync port, that is sufficient. The reason I'm plugging in directly is because I'm about to do an in-home newborn photo shoot, and I decided to mount a field monitor to my camera's hot shoe, so using a wireless trigger was no longer an option. And this was right before I left to go do the newborn shoot, testing out an idea with my cat. I thought maybe I should use the Zeniko OT80 by inflatable light, because I thought it worked pretty well in these test photos. but I accidentally shot these in JPEG. I thought white balance might be an issue. I wasn't sure. But no, not at all. This puts out a very nice, balanced white light. And indeed, I think it could have been a good choice. I do like this look that you get when you get a light in super close to your subject. There's something very striking about that. But alas, I didn't use it. I used the AD300Pro II instead. It just worked out better in the actual conditions I found once I got there, as opposed to whatever I had imagined in advance. Only a small window in this room. I'm trying to get 3 people in focus, so I've got to close my aperture down a bit, which of course darkens the shot even more. So I needed a lighting assist. I bounced the AD300Pro II off of a wall to soften the light a little, spread it around, rather than what I was doing before with individual portraits. I don't actually want the light to look overly dramatic here, or overdone, overcooked, overly intentional. The light shouldn't be the star. It just needs to look like the room already looks, but brighter. So I love the strobe. Love, love, love. I really do. It's part of my essential gear already. It will always be in my bag, anytime I'm shooting people, not for landscapes. And I like the inflatable lights too. They're perfect for my little office/studio, perfect for a quick handheld light out in the field, no stand required. Or bring a couple stands, throw 2 of the RGB versions up behind a person, light them from the front with the AD300Pro II. I think that would be a great use for them also. This is my old friend Lindsay and her 1-week-old baby today, Cairo. Very special to have some small part in this. But I do have a couple of nitpicks about the light, and here they are. I can turn the modeling lamp off from my wireless trigger, but I cannot turn it back on from my wireless trigger. I have to walk up to the light and do it manually. Both are on the latest firmware, I've confirmed, so I can't figure out what's going on there. I don't know if that's expected behavior or it's a bug. Where this sync cord is plugged in, there's also a USB-C port for updating firmware. I think this is about where we came in. Motion blur, that's what we're doing here. Shutter dragging, intentional camera movement. So my next nitpick is, it's more of a wish. I wish the buttons on the back were illuminated. Typically you're using a strobe because it's dark, and there were several times I had to shine a flashlight onto the buttons, and that kind of sucks. Now, why I say it's more of a wish than a nitpick is that basically describes my relationship with every piece of hardware. The buttons on my camera certainly don't light up, nor the buttons on the side of my lens. Can't tell you how many times I've tried to switch to manual focus, but accidentally just limited the focal range because I hit the wrong switch. Also, I've never owned a single strobe, AC, or battery with backlit buttons, so it's not that they did anything wrong here. It's just that would have been really nice to have. And lastly, and this is the most nitpicky of them all, a wheel is a great way to scroll through a big list of things very quickly, but this particular wheel that they used is somewhat less precise than I would like for making tiny adjustments. So either an improved wheel or a D-pad would have been better, maybe. And that's it. Otherwise, I'm just extremely pleased with the AD300Pro II. And this shot is my favorite thing I've shot in ages. The prospect of adding this piece of gear to my arsenal is very exciting. And if you can afford it, pair it with a really great Godox trigger. And that's a killer combination. Again, links for the AD300Pro II and the inflatable tube lights in the description.